turn your back on the wolf pack. Don't turn your back on the wolf pack. Don't turn your back on the wolf pack. You might wind up in a body bag.
Well. Welcome to Monday, everyone. Hope everybody survived the St. Patrick's Day weekend going into today. Don't know how hard you guys hit it up on Saturday, huge event here in Chicago. As you guys know, Chicago does St. Patrick's Day a little bit like a New Year's meets Mardi Gras. So there are no rules, and everybody gets wild. Pretty tame on the north side where I spent my evening. Not too wild a bunch in terms of what I experienced. So that was good for me, for old guy bouncing on a holiday weekend. Hope everybody's doing great here again. Thanks for those that joined us yesterday with the selection show where March Madness released their brackets, and today you will help me pick out my bracket, but with a catch. My bracket is going to be looking at the mascots and logos for each team and who would win in a head-to-head fight between said mascots, and that's how I will select the winner for my NCAA tournament pool. Available at CBS Sportsline. If you want to join the fun, you can. I'll put that down here. So, Boys in the Tank password is cut the nets, free to play. Winner gets a Boys in the Tank compliments of your boys here at Boys in the Tank. So, as everybody knows, I'm in the tank for the Kentucky Wildcats. I even had a bit of a spoiler saying yesterday that I was going to work my way backwards and put the Kentucky Wildcats in the championship, but after further review and much studied mascot research, it's not going to happen. Not going to have the Wildcats aren't going to defend against some of these really great mascots that we have in the NCAA tournament this year. A lot of Cougars out there. So let's see how it shakes out. Again, if you want to join the fun and make your own bracket, I haven't seen how many people have signed up yet. I know there was a couple two trees. CBS Sportsline. We'll take a look at how this breaks down, and we're going to start off in the East. So the East has defending champion UConn's and the University of Stetson. And if you remember yesterday, Cowboy said, when he thinks of Stetson, he thinks of the cowboy hat. And for good reason. The Stetsons are called Stetson University because it is the creator of the cowboy hat. So that's why the Stetson Hatters are called the Stetson Hatters. And if you take a Husky or Huskies, so we're going plural tense here, a pack of Huskies going up against a guy that makes a hat, a haberdashery. We're taking the Huskies, and we're taking the Huskies big time. So my first click in will be the number one UConn Huskies eating alive the creator of the cowboy hat and the Stetson Hatters. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to go through the mascots all the way through. If you want to join the conversation, or if you have an argument to be made, I know there will be some. Bit of contention here in the Ramos household about how aggressive a particular animal may or may not be. And we'll see exactly how the fans and how it shapes up. But I don't think it's going to sway my vote any. The 8-9 matchup for the East is Florida Atlantic and the Northwestern Wildcats. Congratulations, Northwestern Wildcats, for your first back-to-back trip to the dance. The FAU Owls are called such because of their presence on campus and symbolic for Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom. Does that play a role in whether or not a wildcat is going to beat an owl, or an owl can beat a wildcat? Owls are ferocious birds of prey. Now, the Wildcats, yeah, we all know Wildcats. They're tough, they're strong, but I'm taking an owl named after a Greek goddess to destroy a wildcat pretty handedly. And for that, the number 8 seeded FAU Owls are going to advance to play UConn, or fight UConn, as it were. Now, does that mean the Owls are going to have a long run? Yet to be determined as we go down to the first real rabbit hole I had to go down. Not because it's the 5-12 upset. Not because it's a team that was in the championship game last year, because we're throwing all that stuff out. But we have the San Diego State Aztecs going up against the UAB Blazers. Now, right here we are. This has got to be the favorite to go all the way. The Blazers, it's a dragon. You're a dragon. But the problem comes when you combine the history of the Aztecs and dragons. What? So, right, Aztecs, San Diego State, identity to the heritage and honor of the Aztecs down in that region of the United States. The Blazers mascot, the dragon, just something that they wanted to give to their fans. The connection and the correlation, though, is you got to go down an Aztec rabbit hole, and you have to understand who the and I'm going to butcher this pronunciation. You guys can help me out with the Quetzalcoatl. Anyway, this is a deity. This is a god of creation that the Aztecs actually acknowledged and had sacrifices for. So here we are now matched up real early with the Aztecs, mighty warriors of the region, basically facing off against their god. Now, what do we have now? Hundreds of thousands of years later, we don't have the Quetzalcoatl. You guys got to help me out with that one. Whew. It's a tough one for me. I'm not very linguistic. But what you're going to find is we still have Aztecs and people of the region. We haven't had our feathered serpent show himself. They've actually used it as a high honor of priesthood amongst the culture. So I think that the Aztecs would survive, and I'd go in a battle of one dragon versus the mighty Aztecs. I think I'm taking the Aztecs on this one. I think I'm taking the Aztecs on this one to defeat the mighty dragon. So no 12-5 upset there, but wonderful rabbit hole to go down when you're looking at why these are facing off and fighting to the death. The next matchup, not as exciting. Auburn Tigers versus Yale Bulldogs. Okay. Not going to get into the whole War Eagle of it all for Auburn, because that's just confusing in and of itself. But if you're going to take it doesn't matter how much dog's in that fight, that Tiger is destroying that Bulldog. We go down the region to the 6-11 matchup, BYU versus Duquesne Dukes. Named after a French guy that brought the Catholic observance to the Pittsburgh area. Yeah, he's getting eaten by a cougar, and he's getting eaten by a cougar quick. So we're taking BYU easily in a 6-11 win in that region. Now, for another good one because of what's going to come down the road. But the 3-14 matchup of Illinois and the Fighting Illini against the Morehead State Eagles. The Illini, the Illinoic tribes of 12-13 that were in the Missouri Valley are destroying Eagles left and right. They're making dream catchers and tattoos and clothing, and the Eagles are going to be extinct because of everything that we've done to them as humans, and so not going to get out of the first round. So sorry, Morehead State fans that were looking for an upset there. Number 3, Fighting Illini, fight on. Washington State Cougars. Not an impressive animal. Cougar, Wildcat, same thing. But they're going up against the Drake Bulldogs. So another big cat going to take out a Bulldog. Again, Bulldogs look mean, and they get a bad reputation because they're always used as mascots. But in a fight, and we don't dog fight around here, but in a protective dog situation, a Bulldog probably isn't the first breed you're going to go with. So you're not going to see a lot of success, spoiler alert, through the Bulldogs on these matchups. So for the Washington State Drake matchup, Washington goes on, and now a tough one that I had to kind of pay attention to and research. the 12-15 matchup of Iowa State versus South Dakota State. Now, why? Why do you have to pay attention to the Cyclones and the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State? Because the Cyclone will tear into, what do you got to have 75-mile-an-hour winds? It's hurricane, for those of you that don't know. Hurricane going in another direction. But it destroys the wildlife. It destroys human life. It destroys structures. It takes out whole islands wiped off the map. So does a jackrabbit stand a chance? And you think, well, jackrabbits, sure, they know the weather's coming. They're going to put themselves in a safe situation, in a safe spot. But not so fast, my friend. The jackrabbit's going to drown. Jackrabbit's going to think he's safe, digging himself in a hole, thinking he's going to wait this storm out, and that cyclone is going to destroy and drown those jackrabbits. Jackrabbits don't live long anyway. Only got about a year, 2, 3 tops. So they're definitely not making it into the next round. So Iowa State takes the W, and no upset there. We're going to head to the West region. Again, this is a lot of fun figuring out who's who and what's what and why they're called what they're called. Because what's a Tar Heel? We see the mascot, okay? We see the mascot is a ram. But that's not what a Tar Heel is. A Tar Heel is something they call somebody from North Carolina. You're a native of the area. It was also an insult to the Confederate Army of North Carolina and a term used, to identify them. So they were Tar Heels. The ram was used in 1924 after fullback Jack Merritt to give them a cool animal name so they can hang out with the likes of the NC State and, Wolfpack or the Georgia Bulldogs. But if we're going to do it in here, we're going to swim in the gray area, and I'm going to take the Tar Heel name for the people of North Carolina. Not insulting, just identifying. And anytime you're going to get a human going up against, an animal or, even a dragon, I'm going to go advantage humans, team humans. So in the matchup here, we have the play-in game. In the play-in game, the Howard Bison or the Grambling State Tigers. So not knowing who's going to come out of that, advantage Tigers. Tigers are ferocious animals, but I'd take a Tar Heel over a Bison and a Grambling State Tiger, especially if we're going to correlate it to a soldier, Confederate soldier, whatever side you're on. They're going to be armed to the teeth, take that tiger out. So in that matchup, we're going to take North Carolina over the play-in game at 16. No 16-1 upset out of my West region. 8-9. We got another Bulldog. Mississippi State coming in, but we got another human also. And these guys are going to be favorites. This is Sparta. The Spartans of the Spartans of Michigan State are coming in hot. 27 consecutive trips to the tournament or something like that. They've been in there forever. Spartans are probably the best warriors of history before, modernized weaponry. So hard to say that the Bulldogs would stand a chance against Spartans. We are now looking at the St. Mary's Grand Canyon 12-5 matchup. Again, everybody talks about the 12-5 matchup, and is there going to be an upset? The Grand Canyon Antelopes coming in at 12, and I hate to say it, but the St. Mary Gales, they're gonna take it. They're gonna take it. What is a Gale? Look it up. They're the Gaelic. They're the Scottish, the Northern Irish, the Gaelics and of Scotland, Ireland, that region. That's Braveheart. That's Mel Gibson. That's Give Me My Freedom. Those antelopes are dead to rights. There's no way they're getting out of the first round. So pay attention for St. Mary's. Probably go a long way if that's who we're dealing with this head-to-head matchup. Another fun one that I got here is Alabama. Because Alabama, the big, bad, tough, roll tide. What are you? You're just algae. You're algae bloom. That's not tough. I mean, I guess if it was like a tidal wave, that could be impressive and perhaps maybe frightening. But when you're dealing with just red tide versus the Cougars of Charleston, we're going to get our first Cougar win here. and we're going to take an upset, 13-4, Charleston, because I don't see what the Alabama Crimson Tide is rolling. I don't get it. I'm not seeing it. And I know that they have a mascot that's an elephant, and that was because when their football jerseys got red because of the soil, because of the algae, and the stuff going on down there. But it doesn't. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed if we're going head to head here. So we're taking Charleston Cougars. More cats on the horizon is number 6. Clemson takes on New Mexico. New Mexico. Those are the Lobos. So those are gray wolves. Those are a wolf pack. But again, if we're thinking in combat, if you give me one good, strong tiger against 4, 5, a small pack of Lobos, I'm taking the tiger on this one. This is going to be a victory for the tiger. This is going to be Clemson taking out number 11, New Mexico. The Lobos, tough. You know how we feel about a wolf pack. We're wolf pack proud over here. Don't turn your back on a wolf pack, but a tiger will F up a wolf, a series of wolves, a wolf pack. Down goes New Mexico. All right. So another great research conversation of what these mascots are. And here's a mascot name that if you were going to ask me if we need to cancel mascot names, if you're going to cancel Indians or Redskins and things like that, which were made in honor of particular tribes, all right? The Cleveland Indians were the first Major League Baseball team to have 3 Native Americans on their team, and they were the Spiders, and then they were like, we should call ourselves the Indians because we have Indians, and it caught fire, and they were that. But Raiders, along with Pirates, I think are mascot names that you could probably do without, because those guys are real robbers, stealers, rapers, pillagers. That's what they do. So Colgate Raiders are going up against the Baylor Bears. If you know anything about Bears, I'm a huge big team bear guy. The argument always is like, who's going to win, a bear or a gorilla? The bear's going to win. The bear's going to have his razor sharp claws all over these Colgate Raiders. Think of it as an opportunity. Maybe they catch them off guard because the Raiders are pillaging, and then they're obliterated. And here along comes a bear and destroys them. So we're getting the bear beating the human in this matchup. Also, not an upset. That's a 3 beating 14. So no surprise there. Dayton, the Dayton Flyers. Not a tough mascot, guys. Not a tough mascot. Probably a cool dude on the sideline. A lot of fun running around, hyping the crowd up, but not a tough mascot. And we have another Wolfpack and Cougars representing big. We're going to take the Wolfpack on this one, and I think that's a pretty good bet, even if you're selecting the based off teams names your tournament pick. A 10-7, Nevada beating Dayton. And the Wolfpack taking out the Flyers, which were named the Flyers because of the Wright brothers and their ability to start flying planes. That's where you get your Dayton Flyers from. And next up, this was a good one too. This was a lot of fun to research. Number 2, Arizona, Wildcats, Wildcat fan. LBSU, Long Beach State University. Tried to figure out what their mascot was. They actually made a recent change right around COVID, and they have a new mascot called Elby. He's a shark. You got to go shark. Put shark in the championship. That's not really what they're called. That's not their name. They're not the Long Beach Sharks. Their baseball team is actually called the Dirtbags. And what Long Beach does, the LBC, they just call themselves Beach Athletics. They don't really have name. They don't have an identity. They did identify for a while. They had their previous logo was Prospector Pete, but they weren't the Prospectors. They kind of adopted the gold rushing 49ers-esque. So they do have some themes to be like nothing finer than a 49er. So they kind of accepted that. But for the tournament, maybe he makes the trip. LB the Shark is their mascot. We're going to take sharks in this battle. But we're going to we're not going to support our Sharks. We're going to take the Wildcats on this one because their whole situation kind of annoyed me as I was doing more research and did not advance to the next round. We're going to go back up to the South region. We're going to take a look at the South region. South region has your number 1 seed taking on. Oh, this was a good one too. This was another good one. This is a good one because if you're a fan of the show, you know that we are in the tank for jousting. We're in. It's the state sport of Maryland, and we are all in on jousting leagues and all things jousting, which means when you're looking at a cougar from Houston taking on the Longwood Lancers, the Lancers are they're jousters. They're horseback riding lancing jousters. So there's your 16-1 upset, folks, right there. We're taking Longwood to joust their way through Houston and rain on their parade out of the South region. Okay, so now we start to get into a little bit more human on human. Who's going to win this fight? Okay, Nebraska Cornhusker versus a Texas Aggie. What is an Aggie? An Aggie, someone in agriculture, it's a farmer. So you got 2 farmers. You have your Texas agricultural farmer and a Nebraska corn farmer. Advantage Texas all day, every day. If you're a rancher in Texas, you're basically going to be a cowboy. If you're a corn husker in Nebraska, you're just a big corn husking goofball. No offense to friends of the show that might be corn huskers. Only if you're a Cornhusker fan, because Nebraska's going to fall to the number 9 seeded Texas A&M. Number 5, Wisconsin versus number 12, James Madison. This one also a little bit confusing. Didn't really know what James Madison are. I guess they're the Dukes, and they use a bulldog. Not a big showing from Bulldogs. A badger is a ferocious animal. A badger is aggressive. It's mean. It's got good defenses. And one-on-one against a bulldog, we're taking the Wisconsin Badger to take out that that bulldog. Unfortunately, no dogs are harmed in the filming of this selection, but they did not do good and show good in the first round here. All right, now comes a huge favorite. Okay, I mean, how do you compare any of these, whether they're real, fictional, mythical, or what have you, when you're dealing with the Duke Blue Devils? All right, that's right. Duke is the Blue Devils. They are the Devils, and in my eyes, I hate Duke. But you have to look at this matchup against who they're playing the Catamount of Vermont. So we got a mountain lion, we got another cougar, we got another wildcat, and the Devils is gonna beat the devil out of those cats. Whether it's a pack of them or whatever, you just can't match up against Satan himself or a follower of the Duke Blue Devils. Texas Tech, North Carolina State. Again, I'm going to swim in the gray area here. Texas Tech and their Raiders are more like it's more like a verb than a noun. They're really more like cowboys, but cowboys can be Raiders. Cowboys are like Raiders, right? There were some outlaws back in the day that would wreak havoc and cause problems. Again, we're going up against our Wolfpack. So what do you think would happen if you have the Wolfpack against a Red Raider? Well, in this particular matchup, we're going to go Wolfpack again. Again, the Raiders, Red Raiders, those type of criminal-esque mascots aren't going to fare well, because when they're done doing whatever it is they're doing and they're ready for a fight, they're going to get circled by that Wolfpack, and that Wolfpack's going to take them out. So some fun changes and some cool things about the Texas Tech Red Raider and the, what they call them, saddle tramps. So I don't know what's going on in Lubbock, but Wolfpack take them out in this particular matchup, which will give us a little bit of an upset for North Carolina State over the 6th-seeded in the South, Texas Tech. All right. Now my guys in Kentucky. My champions at heart. The quest for 12. 3 seed in the South. Going up against Oakland. Oakland are the Golden Grizzlies. And what did I say before? Those Bears, you can't go up. They're beasts. They are beasts. Razor sharp claws, jaws of steel. Unfortunately, in this matchup, the Wildcats get taken out by the Golden Grizzlies of Oakland. And that's going to hurt my bracket, my sheet of integrity. But I got to take Oakland with a 14-3 upset here against the Kentucky Wildcats. 7-10 matchup has a play-in game. We got the Gators. We play the winners of the Broncos of Boise State or the Buffalo of Colorado. This is a Gator win. Gators are tough animals. You're not going to, they eat horses for dinner. You eat horses for dinner? They will mop the floor with a horse or a buffalo. There's no contest here. So we're going to click Florida right away. We don't even have to wait for the Colorado-Boise game. And then we have an interesting one. The 2-15 matchup, Marquette versus Western Kentucky and the Hilltoppers. So this is great. Because what is a Hilltopper? Well, they're just people on top of a hill. There's really no particular aspect of being on top of the hill that they represent. And if you look at the goofball mascot that Western Kentucky has, that big red Philly fanatic looking thing, I'm taking a golden eagle. I'm taking that golden eagle to peck his eyes out, and he's done for. So Marquette is going to move on to the next round over Western Kentucky. Down to the Midwest, number 1 seed Purdue taking on a buy-in game. Are they the true number 1 overall? Because they have to play the buy-in game. But they're number 1 in the Midwest, and they're taking on the Middle Tennessee State winner of Middle Tennessee State and Grambling. So I had to figure it out, right? So we know they're the Boilermakers, but what is a Boilermaker? Okay, a Boilermaker is somebody that is like an engineer that works with the boiler system, right? So they represent them by working with the locomotives, right? They got these guys are they're engineers, but they're get their hands dirty. So he's going to have some tools with them. What is a Middle Tennessee State Blue Raider? So he's a Raider or the Tigers of Grambling, right? So when I looked at this and I said, okay, well, the Blue Raiders, the history of their name, they didn't even have a cool name back in the day. They were actually called the Normalites, or they called themselves the Teachers. They weren't not a lot of fanfare going on there. So they're not very tough. And a Boilermaker can be tough, right? But when you're going up against the Tiger from Grambling State, Tiger's going to win. So probably the biggest upset is going to be that in order to get here, the Tigers are going to have to kill off 2 mascots to get to the next round. But that's what I got. A huge 16-1 upset with Grambling State taking out Purdue after they take out the normies. The normies? Terrible name. 8-9 matchup. Toss up when you look at the teams on paper. Utah State versus TCU, but not a toss up when you look at the animals and you want to see who's fighting who. We have the Aggies. They're not a blue ox, even though they have this big blue ox of a mascot. They're actually called the Aggies. So we're going to associate that with agriculture and being a farmer. So you're going to be a tough guy. TCU Horned Frogs, ugly, not dangerous to people. They look mean, especially when you blow them up in or you got a big mascot going on. But a Horned Frog he's gonna get crushed. He's gonna get crushed. So Utah State taking the dub in the first round, taking out TCU. Here's another fun one. Gonzaga. Either you love them or you hate them. And if you know me, You know I hate them. They are the Zags. It's a bulldog mascot. But what is a Zag? So you're just wheeling out a bulldog just to bring any old animal out. But a Zag, if you do the research, is just a product of Gonzaga. It's just somebody that went to Gonzaga. Well, that's lame. McNeese State, they're the Cowboys. They're not lame. We're taking the McNeese State Cowboys in the first round over Gonzaga. 12-5 matchup. That might actually be your best bet for your 12-5 upset because the Cowboys are taking out some guy from Gonzaga. Did you know a Jayhawk is not a real bird? They made that up. That's just it's a mythical creature from the land of Kansas. The Kansas Jayhawk does not exist. Not very tough, but we're going up against the Bulldog. And so the Samford Bulldog, not going to have a good showing again. Bulldog and Bulldog Nation, Bulldog fans. Ben, friend of the show, breeds Bulldogs. Great stuff you got going on over there. You're not going to make it past the mythical creature of Kansas. All right. This is a great matchup. This is a great matchup of the birds. South Carolina, 6th seed in the South, going up against Oregon and the Duck. The Gamecocks versus the Duck. And let me tell you, this fight is not pretty because the Gamecock is bred to be a beast of a rooster. And an Oregon Duck, it's not going to be a good day for Daffy. He's getting demolished. Number 6, South Carolina, taking out Oregon. Creighton, 3 seed. Akron, 14 seed. What do we got for our for our mascots here? Well, we have a Blue Jay versus a Zip, the Akron Zips. Well, what is a zip? So they're named after zippers and a type of a shoe. So your mascot is a shoe. So they put it on a kangaroo. But a zip isn't a kangaroo. It's not a name that they call kangaroos, at least not that I saw. But if the shoe's worn by the kangaroo and then the kangaroo's going to fight, then I'm going to say advantage kangaroo over a Blue Jay. Blue Jays can be jerk of a bird, but territorial, sure. But in a controversial win, I'm taking the Akron Zips, which will also be an upset, 14-3. Texas has to play the winner of Colorado State or University of Virginia. Now, Texas, big tough bull, Longhorns, love them. University of Virginia, Cavaliers, Colorado State, Rams. I'm always going to take the human on this one. I'm taking the humans here. We're going to take the soldiers. We're going to take the Cavaliers. We're going to take the University of Virginia to beat Cowboy. Sorry, your Longhorns are going down, and they're going down early, and they're going down to the University of Virginia. And I know you hate that. And that's not why I chose them. You got to go with the human element and the trained soldier over a bull and a ram. All right. Another human element, Tennessee Volunteers, Volunteer Army. These guys are tough. These guys are armed. St. Pete's Peacocks, not very ferocious. And that's where the debate in the Ramos house is. Wife says peacocks are assholes. Peacocks are mean. I did a little bit of research. They're territorial against other animals their size and perhaps maybe other peacocks, but they're not really known for their violence. Now, if you go to the Brookfield Zoo, you might get chased by a peacock. He might give you a bad day. But I think all in all, out in the wild, not a lot of victories going on, especially against, a volunteer army of Tennessee. So that takes us past our first round. That's the longest part of this selection process, is always getting the first ones out of the way. Because now we know. Because now we know what we have and what we're up against. And as we look at the number 1 seed UConn taking on the Owls, there's really no debate that the Huskies would probably, maybe the Owl is thinking he's going to pick one off, and then the Huskies pounce. I'm taking the Huskies to advance to the next round. San Diego State Aztecs versus the Tiger. Now, I know in the past I said the Tiger is tough, but the Aztecs, they're tougher. In this particular matchup, they're going to be tougher. Maybe the Aztecs they're hunting jungle lions like tigers all day long. So we got the 5 seed San Diego State moving on. BYU versus the Illini. Give me the Indians. Give me the human elements to take out those Cougars. So 3-6 upset. Illini move on. Cyclones versus Washington State. So this morning, as I'm sitting there and I'm trying to think, do the Cougars survive? Do they suffer the same consequence that a jackrabbit has? Are they going to get flooded out? And they are. They're going to have the same problem when you have 112-mile-an-hour wind and relentless rain. And yeah, a cougar can climb, and he's going to try to be safe up there in a tree. Maybe he's going to try to find a cave. But that cyclone is going to tear up that whole region, and we're taking the Cyclones to advance into the next round. Back down west, North Carolina Tar Heel versus Sparta. Now, trained soldier with guns or Tar Heel, just somebody from North Carolina. Swimming in the gray area here. So if I'm taking some dumb drunk from Raleigh-Durham against a Spartan, the Spartans are winning all day. Not that there's dumb drunks in North Carolina. That's just my Kentucky fans speaking out and saying, okay, let's take the Tar Heel Army Confederate out of it. Let's put it in there. Him and his musket. I'm still taking Spartans. St. Mary's versus Charleston. Those are the Gallics. That's Give Me My Freedom. That's Mel Gibson. And he's advancing for a huge matchup against those very same Spartans that took out North Carolina. Clemson Tigers, Baylor Bears. I think I wanted to go Tigers for this one. I really did. But then I thought, again, Bears are just impossible, huge. They would probably fight to the death together. You'd probably have a situation where that would be a situation where, it would be a tough matchup, like a real tiger, like a real big Bengal tiger. I'm taking Baylor. Now we have the Nevada Wolfpack versus the number 2 Arizona Wildcat. Don't turn your back on the Wolfpack. Nevada advances, and that's a 10 seed. And now we're talking Cinderella. Let's see if we've got any comments here. I've been ignoring the comments because I'm deep in it. Peacocks are aggressive. They will peck you. That's from a Facebook user that didn't join the link, so I can't see who that is. But we'll shout you out, friend of the show. Thanks for your input. Another vote for Team Peacock. Yeah. Peacocks, probably not good animals to have as pets, but not good animals to have in the NCAA tournament. Over to the south we go. We have the Lancers versus the Aggies. 16 seed Lancers. We are in the tank for joust. So you farmers from Texas, look out. Longwood is marching on, and they're taking out Texas A&M. Here we have big favorite, Wisconsin versus Duke. Badger v. the Devil, or Devils. So you gotta go with the Devils on that one. He's taking them out. North Carolina State Wolfpack versus the Oakland Bear. Again, very similar matchup, very similar fighting style as a Bear versus a Wildcats. I'm definitely going to have to turn my back on the Wolfpack on this one, and we have a 14-seeded Cinderella going on and beating NC State as Oakland takes out the Kentucky Wildcats and the NC State Wolfpack. Florida Marquette, Eagles, Gators. Now, we've seen it all before, right? There's all these exotic birds that'll hang out and they'll be on the backs of an alligator, basking in the swampiness. They kind of live in unity. There's no beef there. But every once in a while, some bird's not minding his business well enough. Some pelican or maybe even an eagle. And that gator's going to get him. And that gator's going to get the Marquette right here in this round and advance. To the Midwest, where we had the Tigers of Grambling State take out Purdue. Boil it down. Versus Utah State Aggies. Human Element. Tigers versus Farmers. A Utah farmer, I think, deals with Wildcats more than he does actual Tigers. So I'm going to give a slight edge to Grambling to really stick it to everyone's bracket and bust them and move on to the next round. McNeese State Cowboy versus the mythical Jayhawk. Jayhawk does not exist. Cowboy moves on. South Carolina Gamecocks, bred for fighting. This is what they do. They live for March Madness. And he's taking on a kangaroo wearing shoes. I'm going to take the Gamecock in this one. The kangaroo, I think he might miss a step. Maybe he pecks at his shoes, at his zips, and his Skechers are no good. And we're going to take Carolina to mess up that kangaroo. Tennessee Volunteer taking on University of Virginia. We got a battle here. These are battle-tested University of Virginia Cavaliers. Tennessee Volunteers. They're not blue tick hounds. Their mascot isn't the dog. Their mascot is a volunteer for Volunteer Army. I'll have to take the fully trained enlisted Cavalier in this one over the Tennessee Volunteer. So that is the second round there. We head back up to the east where UConn Huskies are taking on the Aztecs, and they've already taken out a dragon, reminiscent of the god that they, once worshipped and sacrificed for. We're taking San Diego State. Then the Illini versus the Cyclone. Now, Illini, not very used to cyclones, but they have endured bad weather, tornadoes, the winds of Illinois, and the weather here can get pretty ferocious. So I'm going to take the Illini over the Cyclone, which gives us a huge matchup when we get back to see who's going to go into the Final Four. Another huge matchup right now, Sparta versus the Gaelics. The Gaelics of St. Mary's and Sparta. And unfortunately, although the Romans didn't attack Ireland because they knew about these tough guys in skirts up there, the Michigan State Spartans, the Sparta, will take out St. Mary's. Baylor Bears, Nevada Wolfpack. Again, right? We're swimming in the gray area. If I'm using one scenario for one, do I use it for another? Are we affected by the rounds of play? The Baylor Bears going up against the Nevada Wolfpack, if we look back and we see that the Wolfpack, the Bears are vicious, ferocious animals. A Wolfpack, I would say the Bear will beat the Wolfpack on this particular one. Again, maybe I'm going back and forth. But it has no bearing on the fact that this is a 3-seed advancing to play Michigan State. No. Not fudging the numbers for that. Just really debating it. Kangaroos have endurance. We have somebody's in the tank for the Zips and wants Kangaroos to have endurance. I don't know how much endurance you're going to have when a rooster jumps up on you and starts pecking your eyes out, and they have those little T-Rex hands, and you can't get to them, and the rooster's made its way up, and he's pecking at his eyes. Yeah, Gamecocks taking those guys right out. Our Lancers are going to fall to the devil here. You can't really. There are some ways to beat Duke, but we're not seeing it on this side of the bracket early on. So Longwood finally falls, or Cinderella takes a seat to the Duke Blue Devils, much to my chagrin. Here we have Gator versus Bear. Now, on this particular one, we have to know that it's the Grizzly. But the Florida Gator, are we talking about, are we Red Dead Redemption 2 Legendary Gator? We could be. That thing was huge. Maybe we can catch the bear napping. He's just trying to get a little bit of swamp water, kind of recuperate from that wolf pack that he just took out. I'm thinking I'm going to go with the Gator on this one. Yep, I went Gator. I got to go Gator on this one. Cowboys versus Tigers. Now here the weapons might come into play. The McNeese State, they have a good long run. Now they're taking the slipper, and they're taking it from 16 seed Grambling State, and the Cowboys are going to take out the Tiger. We have UAV Cavaliers versus those Gamecocks that took out the Kangaroos. We'll take the Soldiers, the human element, and that sets up a real big conflict here. Cowboys versus Cavaliers. That's going to be a good matchup. It's a good matchup. But we'll head back to the East, where we have San Diego State Aztecs versus the Fighting Illini. This is a tough battle. These are some tough warriors going at it, but I'm going to take the Aztecs to beat the Indians on this one. Native Americans. The Illinois versus the Aztecs. The Illinois fall, and San Diego State makes its way into the Final Four. Michigan State, Baylor. The Bears versus the human element of Sparta. This is Sparta. The Bear go down, and it sets up a huge matchup of the San Diego State Aztec and the Michigan State Spartan. Florida Duke, can't beat the devil. Can't do it. Maybe if you're in Georgia and you had a fiddle, but in Florida, in the South bracket, the Gators aren't going to beat them. So we got Duke advancing to the Final Four. And then we have playing game winner, UVA Cavaliers versus Cinderella McNeese State. McNeese State. Not going to make it to the Final Four. University of Virginia Cavaliers are in. So our Final Four, 3 of them have the human element to them. And so if you want to have a tough mascot, yeah, you can get a cool name, or you could have something neat and witty like a kangaroo wearing gym shoes. But if your mascots are going up against each other, you need to have the Spartans, or a warrior nation like the Aztecs, a trained soldier like the Cavaliers, or sell your soul to the Duke Blue Devils and make your way to my Final Four. As the matchup goes, San Diego State versus Spartans of Michigan State. I actually ran to Reddit to see what people were talking about, and if this question had ever been posed before, and by golly, it had been. There's a huge conversation that gets way too in depth. If you're a Reddit user and you know the way the internet works, of course, some people spend way too much time looking at this. A lot of different goofballs out there doing crazy things like comparing, a 4-round fight between Aztecs and Spartans, one on the open field. Then you give Aztecs home field advantage. Then you want to give the Spartans home field advantage. And what's going to happen there? So I did a little bit of research, and I think I'm going to go the way of the Aztecs here. I am. Now, I know Spartans were the best warriors of their time, but it's a very small, complex, compound area. They were really good at defending themselves, right? Is how come Sparta has no wall? Well, these warriors are. It's great. When you got to get into the jungle, or you're fighting real dragons, the Aztecs make it to the championship round. And it's Duke versus the Cavaliers of University of Virginia. We don't have anything that can combat the pure evil that is Duke. They're devils, the purest of all evil, the source of all evil. How can you defend against that with your musket? You cannot. Which gives us a championship game. San Diego State Aztecs, number 4 Duke. But they're battle tested. San Diego State has beat the Spartans. They had to beat a dragon, a representative of their own deity, and they came out successful. And they will be successful in beating Duke in the championship game. Total number of combined scored points, let's give it a 173. Is that a lot of points for those two teams? I don't know. It's probably it's probably low. That's a low scoring game. But they're tired. They're not scoring a lot of points. They've been fighting for way too long. submitting my sheet of integrity for my challenge. Look for, oh, look at that. I could win a car. No. Put a quarter in, win a car. Put a quarter in, win a car. Oh, sir, Cowboys would smack the Cavs. Cowboys would smack the Cavs. I don't think so. We've got a facepalm reaction. Is that you, TJ? I don't know why. I got to figure out what you guys got to do to click so that we can see the names when you guys go in here. Otherwise, I got to go into Facebook and figure out who's doing what. But that concludes my. Wait, somebody was late to the show. Do I have the Cavs beating the Longhorns? Yeah, the Cavs are beating the Longhorns. The human element always. Humans are the apex predator. We rule this earth. So unless you're the Blue Devil himself, you're really going to have a hard time. And the Longhorns are just a bull. You're just steers. Hey, buddy, you got the login. We can argue about it all you want, but all you are big goofy bulls with really long horns. We're taking the trained military men armed to the teeth in battle. Heck, in the next round, they're riding your ass in the battle. All right, Cowboy Capone. And everybody, thanks for stopping by. My picks are in. You can go to CBS Sportsline. It's the you want to look for the boys in the tank, no spaces, brackets. Password is cut the nets. And yeah, your picks win. You win a boys in the tank top. So look forward to everybody playing. And March Madness coming up later on this week. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful night.